Welcome back to Change Your Life. Today, we're diving into the fascinating world of Susan B. Anthony dollar value coins. In this video, we'll uncover the worth, iconic design, hidden treasures, and shocking history behind the top 3 most valuable, expensive, and ultra-rare Susan B. Anthony dollar coins in the United States of America. We'll be exploring key mint years and marks such as 1979D, 1979S, and 1999P. These are copper-nickel-clad copper dollar coins featuring the portrait of Susan B. Anthony on the front and the historic Apollo 11 moon landing reverse design on the back. What makes this truly unbelievable is that even dirty, worn, and heavily circulated dollar coins that look completely ordinary, can be worth thousands or even millions of dollars today. So before you spend that old dollar coin, stick around, because you might just be holding a fortune in your hands. Backhand index pointing right first up. Coin number 1. You reach into a drawer, a forgotten stack of coins, tarnished, dull, and heavy with years of neglect. One slips into your hand, ordinary at first glance, but then, something inside it whispers a secret. This coin could quietly be worth more than you ever imagined. Some examples have changed lives. Some have quietly sold for more than a car, maybe even more than a lifetime of work. This is the story of the 1979D Susan B. Anthony dollar. Look closely. The silver-gray copper-nickel surface is dull, marred by scratches, tiny dents, and the patina of decades in circulation. The edges are soft, the rims worn down from endless hands and pockets. Yet, there, still, is her face. Susan B. Anthony, frozen in metal, her determined gaze staring back through time. And on the reverse, the eagle, landing on the moon, talons outstretched, etched forever against the lunar surface, a reminder of America's first giant leap into space. The date, 1979, is faint but present. The D Mint mark sits quietly beneath, the silent signature of the Denver Mint. It isn't flashy. It isn't rare in the usual sense. It is ordinary. And yet, in ordinary lies the extraordinary. Because collectors, historians, and treasure hunters alike know that sometimes the most unassuming coins hide the deepest secrets. 1979 was a turning point. America was emerging from a decade of change, social, political, and cultural. The moon landing had captured the world's imagination just a decade before. And this coin, this small, copper-nickel disc, carries both history and hope. Not just a dollar, but a tangible connection to a time when the impossible became real. Most Susan B. Anthony dollars in circulation are just that, circulation coins. They jingle in pockets, collect dust in drawers, or vanish into cash registers. But some hold hidden quirks. The 1979P, for instance, is famous for the wide rim, a subtle variation near the date that can turn an ordinary coin into a collector's gem. This one, the 1979D, appears standard, yet even here, minute details tell stories, tiny die scratches, slight off-center strikes, faint marks that only a trained eye, or a magnifying glass, can catch. You can almost smell it, the metallic tang, the faint scent of old hands, time, and history pressed into its surface. Each scratch, each wear mark, is a testament to its journey. It may have changed countless pockets, survived decades of commerce, and yet, quietly, it waits for the right eye to see its potential. Collectors obsess over these details. A sharp rim, the depth of the strike, the faintest die variety, these subtle differences can quietly multiply value. And sometimes, they turn ordinary coins into extraordinary stories. Coins that were once overlooked suddenly make headlines. Coins that seemed forgotten transform the lives of those who recognize their significance. In the world of Susan B. Anthony dollars, few stories capture the imagination like the sudden discoveries of rare varieties in everyday circulation. One collector found a worn coin in his pocket change, ordinary, just like this. But under a loupe, the date and rim revealed a hidden secret, a type variant that had quietly eluded even experienced collectors. That coin would sell quietly at auction, unnoticed by the wider world, but for him, it changed everything. Even heavily circulated coins, dirty and dull like this 1979D, carry whispers of possibility. A faint doubling on the rim, a subtle die crack, a barely visible strike error, these features are like echoes of history, waiting to be heard. And sometimes, the line between ordinary and extraordinary is so thin that the difference could mean thousands, or more, resting in the palm of your hand. Every scratch tells a story. Every worn edge is a chapter in decades of hands, pockets, and wallets. And yet, for those who know, it is the imperfections that make it valuable. Not perfection, not shine, but the journey itself. The story etched into metal. And here's the most shocking part, coins like this aren't locked away in vaults or museums. They are scattered in drawers, jars, and piggy banks across the country. Forgotten, ignored, waiting for someone to recognize them. Someone like you. So next time you reach for spare change, look closer. That ordinary coin, dull, scratched, worn, could be hiding a secret that changes everything. It's quiet. It's unassuming. But it is waiting. Waiting for the eye that sees. The hand that holds. The story that finally gets told. Because the 1979 Susan B. Anthony dollar is more than metal. It is history, mystery, and maybe, just maybe, your next treasure. You reach into a drawer, your fingers brush against cold, metallic discs, ordinary, forgotten, invisible to most. But one coin slips into your hand, worn, dull, its edges softened by decades of use. At first glance, it looks like nothing. Just a dollar. Just metal. Just change. But sometimes, just sometimes, that ordinary coin can quietly hold a secret. A secret that can change lives. This is the 1979 Susan B. Anthony dollar. Look closer. The surface is dull, gray, marred by scratches, tiny dents, and the patina of years in circulation. Rim where softens the edges. The date. 1979, faint, almost erased. And the mint mark, an S, the silent signature of the San Francisco Mint. On the obverse, Susan B. Anthony gazes out from the metal, her expression determined, yet quiet. On the reverse, the Apollo 11 insignia, the eagle landing on the moon, etched forever in copper nickel. A symbol of ambition, of a nation reaching for the stars. All captured in a coin smaller than your thumb. The smell, faint, metallic, almost like old pennies left in the sun. You can feel the weight, the history pressed into every groove. Every scratch, every dent, tells a story of hands that have held it, pockets that have carried it, decades of circulation that have shaped it into something extraordinary. 1979 was a turning point in America. The nation was evolving, still reflecting on the moon landing less than a decade before, navigating a changing political landscape, and embracing social progress. Susan B. Anthony, a pioneer of equality, is immortalized on this coin, her image a reminder of the fight for justice, even as the coin itself traveled quietly through ordinary life. Most of these coins never leave circulation. They jingle in pockets, get lost in jars, or vanish in cash registers. But collectors, those who study the metal and the minting process, know that hidden in plain sight are details that can quietly elevate a coin from ordinary to exceptional. A subtle die crack. A faint doubling. A slight misalignment. And even a heavily circulated, dirty coin, like this one, can still hold remarkable potential. This particular 1979 shows no obvious errors. No double dies, no off-center strikes. It is a standard circulation strike. And yet, every mark, every blemish, every worn edge carries a story. A coin does not exist in isolation. It travels through history, through lives, through moments unnoticed, and sometimes, those moments converge to make a coin extraordinary. Collectors study these subtle details with almost obsessive care. The depth of the strike, the width of the rim, even the angle of a die imprint, can change a coin's story and its value. Some examples of Susan B. Anthony dollars, even ordinary circulation strikes, have quietly sold for more than a car. Others have quietly changed someone's life, simply because someone saw what most would overlook. Imagine holding it under a magnifying glass. The tiny scratches become landscapes. The rim wear becomes mountains softened by time. The dull gray surface, once brilliant, tells the story of decades, of pockets, cash registers, wallets. You can almost feel the hands that passed it along, hear the quiet clink as it changed lives in ways nobody noticed. And the thrill, the real thrill, comes when someone discovers a rare variant. The 1979 P wide rim is famous. But even this 1979's, seemingly standard, holds intrigue. Because in the world of coins, rarity is not just about errors, it's about history. Provenance. The story behind the metal. And the narrative of a coin that has survived decades of hands, of time, of humanity. That narrative alone can make it priceless in ways numbers cannot measure. Stories of discovery abound. Coins pulled from pocket change that quietly turned into collector treasures. Forgotten jars that held coins unseen for decades, until one eye, one careful hand, revealed something extraordinary. Sometimes the difference is nearly invisible, a tiny variation on the rim, a faint mint mark, and suddenly, the coin's journey changes forever. Even a heavily worn coin, like this 1979's, can carry immense weight for collectors. Not just monetary, emotional. Historical. A tangible connection to a moment in time, frozen in metal. A reminder that the past is always with us, in pockets, in drawers, waiting. The most shocking truth? Coins like this are everywhere. Lying in drawers, jars, wallets, even on the ground. Ordinary at first glance, and yet, quietly extraordinary. Waiting for someone to see them. To hold them. To realize they are part of history. So next time you sift through spare change, pay attention. That dull, scratched, worn coin, it could be the one hiding a secret. The one that tells a story decades in the making. The one that quietly changes a life, or even yours. The 1979 Susan B. Anthony dollar, more than metal, more than currency, it is history, mystery, and perhaps, your next treasure. Could one of these coins already be in your pocket? Waiting for discovery? You reach into a drawer, your fingers brush over cold, metallic discs, forgotten. Worn. Invisible to most. And then, one slips into your hand. At first, it seems ordinary, just a dollar, dull, scratched, heavy from decades of circulation. But some coins hold secrets. Secrets that can quietly change lives. Some examples have sold for more than a car. Some have quietly transformed the world of the person who found them. This is the 1999 P. Susan B. Anthony dollar. Look closely. The surface is dull. Scratches crisscross the metal like tiny rivers of history. Rim wear softens the edges. The copper-nickel-clad surface has lost its shine, but not its story. The date, 1999, and the P mint mark remain, faint but clear, like whispers from the Philadelphia Mint. On the obverse, Susan B. Anthony's determined gaze meets yours. On the reverse, the eagle lands on the moon, talons outstretched, frozen forever against the lunar surface, a silent witness to human ambition, captured in a coin smaller than your thumb. Feel it in your hand. The weight, the texture, the metallic tang almost like a memory you can smell. This coin has traveled decades, pockets, cash registers, wallets. Every scratch, every mark, tells a story of hands that held it, of lives it touched, quietly, invisibly. And yet, it waits, waiting for someone to notice, to see the extraordinary hidden in the ordinary. 1999, a year poised at the edge of a new millennium. America was buzzing with change and uncertainty. Technology surged forward. History and the future collided. And this coin, this small, unassuming Susan B. Anthony dollar, quietly carried a piece of that moment. Not just currency, but history. A tangible link to a time, a place, and a movement that mattered. Most of these coins never leave circulation. They jingle unnoticed in pockets, vanish in drawers, or accumulate in jars. But collectors see the invisible. They study minute details, mint marks, rim wear, subtle die variations. Some find a faint doubling along the edge. Others spot a slight misalignment that turns an ordinary coin into a rare gem. Even a heavily circulated, worn coin like this can hold extraordinary value. This 1999 piece shows no obvious errors. No off-center strike, no double die. It is a standard circulation coin. And yet, in its imperfections, it tells a story. It is a coin that has survived decades of hands, wallets, and pockets. It is history you can hold. It is an artifact of human movement, commerce, and memory. Collectors obsess over these details. Even subtle wear patterns, soft rims, shallow strikes, faint die lines, can quietly transform a coin's value. Some examples of Susan B. Anthony dollars, even ordinary ones, have quietly sold for amounts that make collectors gasp. Coins that seemed worthless have quietly changed someone's life, simply because someone saw what most overlooked. Imagine holding it under a magnifying glass. Every scratch becomes a landscape. Every dent, a chapter. The dull gray surface, once brilliant, tells the story of decades of travel, through hands, pockets, wallets. You can almost feel the lives it touched, the commerce it passed through. And somewhere in that journey, could lie a hidden surprise. A subtle variation. A die marker. A whisper of history only a careful eye can see. The thrill of discovery is what drives collectors. There are stories of coins pulled from pocket change, ordinary at first glance, suddenly revealing a rare variety. Forgotten jars, dusty drawers, ordinary coins turning into treasures in the blink of an eye. Some found by accident. Others by patience and study. And sometimes, a standard coin, heavily worn, still holds immense power for those who know what to look for. Even a heavily circulated 1999 P can be a treasure. Not because it is perfect. Not because it gleams. But because it carries history, mystery, and the potential for discovery. It is a story frozen in metal. A connection to the past, waiting for the right hand to find it. And here is the truth that shocks most people: coins like this are everywhere. Lying unnoticed in drawers, jars, pockets, even forgotten in couch cushions. Ordinary, and yet extraordinary. Waiting for someone to see them, to hold them, to realize they are part of history. They are part of a story still being written. So next time you sift through change, pause. Look closely. That worn, dull coin, it could be hiding a secret. A story. A treasure. Waiting for you. The 1999 P. Susan B. Anthony dollar, more than metal, more than currency, it is history, mystery, and perhaps, your next treasure. Could one of these coins already be in your pocket? Waiting to be discovered?